Above all, he's a futurist. Please give a big round of applause for our keynote speaker, Mr. Brett King.
Just AI alone is completely going to transform what we think of banking. And it's going to happen probably much quicker than we expect it will.
8 million people died last year as a result of poor air quality. 99% of the human species is subject to this. This is something we can't ignore.
What is a real bank today? A real bank isn't a bank. It's a technology company.
How do you make Uber the most profitable autonomous taxi company in the world? Eliminate human drivers, have autonomous taxis. So you have to have policymakers who are very aware of what the future is going to become, and we're going to have to get over ourselves in respect to our relationship with China.
The way we behave and the way businesses are designed. And it's all based on your experience in the moment, surrounded by technology. That's the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Brett King.
Hello. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. The stage is on fire, I think. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you to Phillips for inviting me here and being a fantastic supporter. And also to our partner banks that have helped make this happen today. I want to take you on a journey to the near future. When I've come to, this is my first trip to Bangladesh, and when I've come here, a lot of people have tried to explain to me why Bangladesh is behind other markets. But I travel the world. I do 25 to 30 countries every year speaking about the future of banking. And the reality is that emerging markets like Bangladesh have amazing opportunities right now. Because if you think about even the financial inclusion problem in Bangladesh, we have an opportunity to solve this very quickly using technology. Since 2011, 1.6 billion people have come into the financial services system, not because of bank branches or plastic debit cards, but because of mobile phones. The mobile phone has reshaped the way we think about banking. But I want to tell you about some of the big forces that are going to be changing banking over the next 20 or 30 years. And it may seem a little bit like science fiction, but you're going to find out very quickly today that these changes have already started, and technology dominates banking around the world today. Banking is no longer about banking competency. It's about technology competency. But the world is going to be very different over the next 20 years because of a number of factors that are changing the system. First of all, one of the most serious issues facing Bangladesh as one of the economies and geographies that's most going to be affected by climate is these emerging problems with extreme weather. The United States last year spent lost $500 billion of economic loss as a result of climate change. This included wildfires in California, massive hurricanes and floods in North Carolina, and damage to infrastructure in states like Florida, California, and other places. In Miami now, you, as a private homeowner, you cannot even get property insurance because of the risk of climate. In just the last 6 years, 16 insurance companies in Florida have gone bankrupt because of climate change. But by the mid-2030s, by 2040, climate losses in the United States alone will exceed $1 trillion. That's more than the annual budget for the US military today in climate loss. So this is a global problem. But we have a president in the White House in the United States who says climate change is a Chinese hoax. So how are we going to get policy that's going to address this? And Bangladesh, like the Maldives and other countries affected by climate, are going to be a victim of this type of response. Air quality is a big problem in Bangladesh. The top 10 cities affected by air pollution are in this region, India and Bangladesh, and obviously Pakistan. But this last year, 9.6 million people died as a result of poor air quality and air pollution globally. Just in India alone, it was almost 2 million people died as a result of air pollution. And you can go out on the streets of Dhaka some days and look at the sky, and you cannot see the blue color of the sky because of air quality. This is a global problem, and we have to fix this. 99% of the human species today is affected by this problem. And this is solvable with technology we have today. This is a picture of a glacial town in the valley of Blatten, Switzerland. You can see the glacier up in the top left-hand side of the screen there. This was the picture earlier in the year, in January of this year. This is Blatten, Switzerland today. This is glacial melt or glacial collapse. And we keep hearing about these stories of glaciers collapsing around the world. But this is what happened in Switzerland just this year. So this is not something that's going to happen in the future. It's happening right now across the planet. This is a simulation of what Fort Dhaka is going to be like in the year 2050 with sea level rise and flooding happening. So this is getting very real. We have to start thinking about how do we restructure our infrastructure, how do we make infrastructure resilient, what are we going to do to people displaced by this type of flooding? We need to start thinking about policy and planning for this in real terms. This is the southern part of Bangladesh where we have a lot of agriculture. By 2050, we're going to see a 16% decline in rice yields due to soil salinity. Because of flooding, particularly from sea rise, when this salty water gets in the ground, it affects farming practices. Over the last 50 years, we've lost 40% of our arable land globally from pollution, salt pollution, and erosion. So again, this is something that's happening around the world. But we need to start thinking about strategies for this. This food insecurity is going to become a global problem. By 2050, 30% of the global population will be food insecure. That means they won't know for sure where their next meal is coming from. But we do have technologies potentially to address this. Urban farming, vertical farming technologies are being tried in places like the United Arab Emirates, where we can grow food inside these hydroponic farms. And these farms are 90% more water efficient than using traditional agricultural methods. But of course it requires very different infrastructure investment. But this food insecurity is going to produce another side effect, and that is a global eco-refugee crisis. Last year, there was 160 million eco-refugees displaced. This is figures from the United Nations. 160 million people already have lost their homes or left their countries because of climate change issues. Again, this is not a problem in the future. This is a problem we're experiencing right now. And the banks in this room are part of the solution for this, because when we look at infrastructure changes and preparing for this, This is where it's going to start, with our financial system. But even with the eco-refugees problem, this is not a technology problem. We have technology today to create very cheap, very rapid construction for new cities and new housing developments. This is a 3D printed home that was printed for the cost of just $3,000 US and took just 24 hours to construct using 3D printing technology. These are machines that basically print concrete homes using this 3D application. So we can solve food security and we can solve homelessness, we can solve these problems, but it requires a different type of policy approach to what we have historically. Elon Musk says the greatest risk to the future of humanity is actually population collapse through birth rate decline. Fertility rates are crashing around the world. A number of countries are now shrinking population. The latest major economy to have this milestone is China. China's population has started to shrink as of the last 12 months or so. And we know the United States as a population will start to shrink in the 2040s, and this is probably going to mean India is going to surpass China as the largest population on the planet in the next 10 or 15 years or so. So there are some big challenges for humanity coming up. We also have major changes in terms of the role of the US economy. Trump's tariffs and his isolationist policies designed to stimulate the US economy have really changed the global post-Second World War order for the first time since 1945. And this change is not good for the US dollar. The US dollar is going through major stress right now, and the major problem for the United States is their debt load. Today, the US debt is reaching $37 trillion. Now, the CBO, or the Congressional Budget Office in the United States, predicted that the US would reach $37 trillion of debt in 2030, and they hit that milestone this year. This means that by the mid-2030s, US debt will be about 200% of GDP. At that time, the global economies will not have confidence in the United States. And this leads to China potentially dominating the world economically. So there's all of these changes happening, but at the same time, we have new tools available to us to fix these problems. And the primary tool is artificial intelligence. How many of you have used artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT or something like this? That's very good. You know, I say there's two types of people in the world today. Biswas has heard me say this a few times, but there's two types of people in the world today. Those that are using artificial intelligence to learn, to enhance their career, to build their business. That's the first type. The second type of person is someone who's going to be replaced by the first type of person, because AI is really foundational. You may recognize the gentleman on the right here, or actually, yes, on the right. His name is Eric Schmidt. He was the executive chairman of Google. Before that, served as a CEO. He's a software engineer in terms of his experience, but we know him from his time at Google. But I want you to hear what he has to say about the emergence of artificial intelligence and why this is so important for the human race.
How do you see all of this?
Well, first, I hate to tell you, but I think this stuff is underhyped.
Underhyped?
Not overhyped. Because the arrival of intelligence of a non-human form is really a big deal for the world.
And you think it's here?
It's coming, it's here, it's about to happen. It happens in stages. If you look
how quickly, though? I mean,
well, we used to say 20 years, now within 5.
Within 5.
And the reason is the scaling laws for these systems are continuing to go up without any loss or degradation of power.
So these scaling laws that Schmidt is talking about show that AI is growing at about 5x every 2 years. This is the fastest exponential technology growth that we've ever seen. And so this was recorded about 1 year ago when he said within 5 years, we're going to reach the milestone of artificial general intelligence. Today, he says within 6 months, AIs will be smarter than the most senior researchers and scientists, human researchers and scientists on the planet. And this is what proves the scaling laws he's talking about. These are some of the different models in terms of their cognition testing capabilities just over the last 2 years or so. Now, you may have heard of Grok. This is xAI's or Twitter's AI platform. Claude, Opus 4, GPT-5, which was just launched last week. These are all testing now in terms of maths, science, and writing comprehension in terms of student testing at the level of Einstein's level of IQ. Now, yes, these AIs still make some small mistakes and hallucinations, but with GPT-5, we've seen a massive reduction in these errors by AI. They are getting very accurate and very, very smart. And those scaling laws that Schmidt talked about guarantee that AI is going to exceed human intelligence in the next few years. OpenAI officially passed the Turing test earlier this year. The Turing test was called the Turing test because it was based on a paper done by Alan Turing in 1950 predicting this sort of emergence of machine intelligence. But for the first time in 75 years, we have now had an AI surpass the Turing test. In this particular test, 75% of humans that interacted with ChatGPT in this scenario did not know they were talking to an artificial intelligence. They thought they were talking to another human. This is why Turing called this test the imitation game. Machine intelligence or AI imitating humans would get so good, we wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Within the next 2 years, you will see CNN news clips of Trump saying ridiculous things, but they will be fake, and you won't be able to tell the difference between real and fake news because AI will be so convincing. AI will be producing Hollywood movies and special effects, and AI will be solving diseases like cancer and other problems like this. So the only path forward for humanity is really to utilize these tools. And this is what's key for the banking sector at this point in time. Because if you're not using artificial intelligence or you're not using technology, then your bank is going to lose relevance very, very quickly, or your company, because this is going to be at the heart of the business that we have. So from this point forward, a child born today will never know a world without artificial intelligence. Just like children born in the last 10 or 15 years don't understand that you would have to go to a library and take a book off the shelf to learn facts instead of using Google search, right? Here's a question. Do you think you'll own a robot in your home to do work around the home? Well, Goldman Sachs predicts that by 2040, there'll be 1 billion robots in homes. This is a crazy statistic. By 2035, there's going to be 10 billion robots on the planet. That sounds like a big number, right? But think about it. We're not just talking about robots in factories or robot vacuum cleaners that clean your carpet or autonomous vehicles like Tesla or BYD that are self-driving cars. These are robots. We might be talking about delivery drones that deliver your packages. And we may be talking about humanoid robots replacing humans on the factory floor and even doing housework. You might remember the cartoon, The Jetsons. You know, I grew up with that. Rosie the robot was this type of robot in the Jetsons family. We're getting to that point where these will be affordable for people to have. Powering this revolution of AI is a new form of computing power, which is data centers. And not the data centers that we have talked about over the last 20 or 30 years. We now measure data centers in terms of gigawatts of energy that they deploy. The largest data centers in the world today are 5 or 10 gigawatts of energy. To AI agents, because if your customers are using a personal AI to decide on how to manage their financial services, you can't make credit card offers or give them offers for discount at restaurants or airlines or something like this, thinking that that's going to make them use your debit card or credit card. You're going to have to convince their AI agent to work with your bank. How do you market to an AI agent? Is your marketing team even thinking about this right now? You might know this guy, Mark Zuckerberg. He's wearing an early prototype of what we call Project Orion or Meta smart glasses. You may have heard of the Ray-Ban smart glasses that they launched. Smart glasses are going to be the next technology we see over the next 5 years, consumer technology that's going to impact financial services as well. Imagine walking into a grocery store and your smart glasses say, hey, it looks like you don't have enough money for your groceries today. Do you need some extra cash? You could get a notification on your phone as well, but smart glasses are going to enable this. Or walking into a BYD or Xiaomi dealership and getting on your head-up display a financing offer in real time. Or walking into a listed real estate property in Dubai and Burj downtown and getting a home financing offer in your smart glasses. Google could do this, Apple could do this, Facebook can do this, Meta could do this. Why? They have the data to know that your customer wants to buy a home. Google knows because people have been doing a property search. They've been going to real estate websites. Apple knows because you downloaded a real estate app on your phone and you've been using that app to look at homes to buy. You've been using a mortgage calculator on the app. Facebook knows because you joined a real estate group or something like this. The banks don't know because they're waiting for a customer to come and ask for a mortgage. So this is a data problem for banks today. You won't be in the mortgage business in 10 years' time unless you have the data about a customer's intent to buy a home. And banks don't have that data historically, so we need new data partnerships. I want to show you this quick clip. This is from a movie called Ready Player One, and it shows what wallet interactions might be like in the future. Now, this shows virtual reality integration, but this is going to be what payments are like in just the next few years with technology like AI and smart glasses. So this is Parzival. He walks into the store and he sees this X1 boot suit that he wants to buy. And he says, all right, how much is that? I'll take it. That's the purchase. There's no swipe of a card. There's no putting in a PIN number or putting in your password. It's just immediate, and then he gets delivered this package with an autonomous drone. This is what invisible payments based on AI-based wallets is going to look like in a couple of years. But what's the really interesting thing is all of these smart vehicles and drones that are delivering packages and autonomous factories that are running these smart contracts, all of them are going to be part of the next generation banking system. They're all going to have, some form of a bank account. Maybe it'll be a token bank account, maybe it'll be a stable coin, but we're about to explode the banking system into 10 times the size of what it is today for machine-based bank accounts. Not human-based bank accounts, machine-based bank accounts. Let me ask you a question. How does a smart car sign a signature card at the branch? Doesn't make any sense saying that, right? How are we going to onboard robots and AI into the banking system at Citibank and AB Bank and these players in this market? The first thing we need to start working on over the next couple of years is KYA. Not KYC, KYA, know your agent. KYM, know your machine. Because we need to recognize agents, and if they have the authority to act on behalf of the companies they serve or the individuals they serve. And this is going to start to build over the next 20 to 30 years what we call the machine-to-machine economy. By the 2060s, it's estimated that at least in the developed nations, over half of the global economy will run on autonomous technologies, run by AI, by automated exchanges, lots of machines running around the place. Humans will not be operating the banking system in 30 years. Banks will be AI companies in 15 to 20 years. And if you don't have that core technology, you're just not going to be able to run the type of applications and infrastructure that's required. So this requires a lot of technical agility. You have to be ready to immerse your bank in technology and do that quite quickly, because smart contracts won't run on legacy payment rails or legacy banking core systems. And this is what we talk about as algorithmic banking, or the world of Bank 5.0. We are starting to see the basis of this today. The fastest growing and the largest banks in the world today are all technology companies. And I want you to remember this as you go away from this. I often get asked, about which bank's really good at this. We heard DBS mentioned earlier, JP Morgan spending $18 billion on this. But the fastest growing banks in the world today are native technology companies. If you want to compete, you have to forget everything you know about banking. And you have to start thinking about the technology solution to these problems. I also wanted to give you a quick update. Phelps and our partners MasterCard, Emirates, and Emirates MBD are putting on a summit, Futurist Summit, in Dubai, September 22nd to 23rd. So if you'd like to come to this event, please let myself or the Phelps team, Biswas, and the team know, and we'll see if we can get you into this event. But if you want to hear more about what the future is going to be like, we have 30 of the world's top 50 ranked futurists coming to Dubai for this event, including Professor Brian Cox, the British astrophysicist, Commander Scott Kelly, who spent a year on the space station, amazing futurist talking about the future. So I'm happy to invite all of you to that event if you can get to Dubai in September. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope I've piqued your interest.
Thank you, Brett, and as always, your keynotes are just amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please put your hands together for Brett King for that amazing, insightful keynote.